About 7 years ago, I was on a backpacking trip with 3 friends. One a ranger, the rest of us bio-botany nerds, and all 4 of us saw something we still cannot explain. Day 1 went off without a hitch. It was a bit long and a lot of elevation gain, but nonetheless we set up camp and heated beans and rice under what was one of the clearest summer skies I can remember. This is up in Washington, and the night sky from the mountains is just unreal. Day 2 was different. All 4 of us awoke shortly before dusk to a shrill scream. Not super uncommon. Most of us are pretty seasoned hikers, campers, backpackers. The sound of something getting killed is pretty universal. None of us could quite make it out. If I remember correctly, we assumed it was a coyote. That familiar yelp, wail. Anyways, it was pretty close, which is probably why it woke us all up. So we started scoping out a small radius around the campsite. We found what looked like somebody had put a bomb in some kind of animal. No evidence of an actual explosive. I'm just trying to give you the same picture I have in my head. A totally indecipherable heap of flesh and fur. Probably about the size of a German Shepherd. Similar fur coloration too. We discussed how odd it was for a bit, then decided more or less, what are you gonna do? And moved on. Best explanation was something tore into it and bailed. Maybe by the sound of us waking up. Day 3. Did you see that? We're winding down from a fairly short day of hiking, tired from the past 2 days. I remember us joking about being old farts now and not being able to hustle like we could a few years prior. The sun was just making its way down over the tree line while we busted out the whiskey and started boiling the pot of water for more beans and rice. I'll never forget this moment as long as I live. One of the crew was just launching into a story about his ex, and it went something like this. Yeah, so, she was just about the worst possible kind of... He gets cut off by a loud pop, which we all unanimously recognized, described as a tree's last leg snapping before it falls. We're all standing now, scanning the tree line. We're in a small clearing, aside from a single large tree we're next to. A few minutes go by without a sound, nothing. Then we start hearing the forest life make noise again. Mostly birds doing their thing. We all settle back in, presuming the tree wound up leaning up against another tree instead of hitting the forest floor. This sounds pretty close, but there aren't too many trees we need to be concerned about. It couldn't reach us if it fell in the middle of the night. Then another wail like the one we heard on the first night, except more distant. Though I never sense it, one of the crew says, sounded like it came from the cave. Like it echoed. So we go looking for a cave in that general direction. We search for about 45 minutes before one of us suggests we just head back as we are going to be out of sunlight soon. More importantly, it's starting to get dark and we're a little ways from the safety of our tents. We never find anything like a cave or something that would cause that kind of reverb, or any kind of body. Heading back towards the clearing, our campsite from the woods, something catches a friend's eye. Did you see that? He's pointing across the clearing, about 9 o'clock. We're taking a direct path to our campsite, so net ahead it's about 12. We're all looking in that direction, scanning the tree line. Where? What? Dude, I'm telling you, there was a person right there, just beyond camp. He's visibly shaken by it, and it's pretty obvious he isn't fooling around or thought he could be mistaken. We're nowhere near a road or town, and even the nearest trail is miles away. A handful of times I've run into other backpackers in a similar way. People checking out your camp, heading the direction of your fire. So the rest of us had a pretty open, let's go check it out mentality. But the friend who saw the figure suggests we all take a knee and wait while we hide in the tree line's cover. So there we are, kneeling in the brush, staring at our own campsite from the other side of the clearing, when we all unanimously see a figure start to move against the brush from 9 to 8 to 7, counterclockwise. Since we're at effectively 6 o'clock, this becomes increasingly unsettling. I remember noting our ranger buddy readying his rifle, and another friend putting a hand on his knife. We're all feeling the same uneasiness now. I say we saw a figure, but we really could just hear and occasionally see the brush moving in that area. Ranger buddy declares it just has to be a bear, the original spotter whispering his argument about it standing like a person now. Either way, we decide getting into the clearing and making our presence known was the best choice. We either need to scare off the bear or confront this person. So we all stand up and jog into the clearing shouting, "Hey bear!" This is more or less standard procedure in case you're wondering. Nothing happens. Nothing at all. Now we're all standing in the middle of the clearing, somewhere about halfway between our 6 o'clock position and our camp, just waiting for something to happen. We're about 20 minutes away from total darkness when there's another wail from 4 o'clock, but our focus is towards 7. I whirl around before realizing one of us was already looking that way, and his face is totally pale. Then I see it too. We all do. There's the silhouette of a tall man leaning up over something else, facing away from us, and then he clearly rests on one knee before turning to look our way. Our ranger buddy has his rifle in air. "Hey, who the heck is O?" He's about to land him for hunting when the figure comes to a full stand. Hard to gauge, probably about 6 foot, and then takes off away from us. And I don't mean like a man scrambling to run away, or a bear bounding off into the brush. This is more like Usain Bolt if you were born and raised in the mountains. Never in my life have I ever seen anything like it. And I'm almost embarrassed to admit it, my first reaction was a ghost. After a pretty long wait, and arguing over what to do, we swing back to camp to grab a few flashlights and our lamp. We make our way over to where the figure was leaning, and it's another mound of flesh. Without getting too detailed, this time some unmistakable fox paws are intermixed. Again, it looks like it was exploded open and the meat eaten on the spot, not harvested like a hunter. You probably wouldn't be surprised to hear we didn't sleep much that night. We make jokes about encountering Sasquatch out there. I've never been a spiritual man, still not, but it's very difficult to shake the inhumane, yet human supernatural nature of the way it looked and moved. None of us could make out any kind of clothing that would break up its silhouette. Not to mention, I've never personally seen something kill quite like that. The closest thing I've ever seen is a deer carcass post-bear, and a time of year that would have made it very hungry, aggressive, close to hibernation, which wouldn't have been during our summer hike. What gets me is, we hear the same shrill wails 3 times, and the distance between our day 2 site and our day 3 site was close to 10 miles. Meaning we were on the same general game trail as it was, or it was following us.